Namaste, as I bow to you. It is Professor P here, and this is going to be episode 6. I've been told that I suffer from a relentless, incurable disease that, left untreated, is fatal. The evidence for me has come from the loss of so many loved ones. In my early 20s, childhood friends of mine, Shiloh and Dan, both died from methadone and Xanax. On my father's side, my first cousin David Matthew, before he was 30, my Uncle Billy, and Uncle Gary, they all died from the disease of addiction. Staying on my father's side, both of my half-siblings, first, 30-year-old Heather, and then 6 months later, 25-year-old Scotty, both fentanyl overdoses, and they were both horrific. Heather left behind 3 children, and Scotty, who had been clean for a month, decided to take his one last shot. He died instantly, so he did not feel the burning fire that swallowed his body from the cigarette he was smoking at the time. My mother and stepfather raised me, and we were all using together before I graduated high school. My stepfather died when I was 25 years old, in a diaper, with hepatitis C and emphysema, but as a direct result of years of using drugs. In 1997, my mother and stepfather had taken custody of Brandy. She was my first cousin that would become my sister, and they took custody of Brandy's first child, who was born 1 pound, 7 ounces, and addicted to heroin. My mother died 3 months after Brandy did. So Brandy died in November. I was 30 years old. 3 months later, my mother died. They were living in the same trailer. And again, this is a direct result of the disease of addiction. Addiction is incurable. It's a lethal and deadly disease. It is chronic. This means the disease is unceasing. It's continual and very devoted. It is progressive. This means the disease only gets better or deadlier. In fact, those with years and decades clean and or sober, I do not discriminate when it comes to 12-step fellowships, have told me that the better they become through recovery, the more baffling and cunning, and the more enlightened the disease too becomes. And this is starting to make sense to me. Why? Well, first I'm learning and accepting that the disease is part of me. It is with me on this journey, my life experience. It is mine. I may have forgotten a few of those individuals who made up the first 30 plus years of my 40 years of life. But that doesn't mean that it all just goes away, all that horror. For me, I don't just come into recovery, work, and live the program so that I erase the past. However, my journey of recovery parallels to this following metaphor. So, I'm driving in a car on the highway. My seatbelt is now on, and I'm going the speed limit because today, recovery has given me the choice to follow the law or to follow laws. While I would like to say it is a clear and sunshiny day, and maybe it is not practical to expect the drive always to be sunshiny days. I've learned in recovery that if it isn't practical, it isn't spiritual. But I'm driving the speed limit. I have my seatbelt on. And to me, this is steps 1, 2, and 3 because I'm powerless against the law. I'm powerless against the car. I have come to believe that if I'm prudent, prudence is to do the next right thing. So if I'm prudent and follow the law, I will not be of harm to others driving on the road with me. Wearing my seatbelt and going the speed limit is turning my will and life over to the God of my understanding because it's insane or crazy to think that if I don't take these precautions, my life is at risk. My reality while driving is that at any moment, the car next to me could swerve into my lane, or my tire could blow out. My gratitude for this obedience, or good orderly direction, God, is that I enjoy this journey. I don't want to die. I don't want to harm others, not just those on the road driving with me, but those that would suffer if I do not make it to my destination because I was driving erratically and not following safety guidelines. Now, as I drive with my seatbelt on and the speed limit, I can talk one-on-one with this God of my understanding, and I can breathe and listen. This reflection and intuition today allows me to step 10 and step 11. Also, while driving, I will glance at my side views and my rear view mirror. While this glancing back behind me is not a step 4 and a step 5 inventory share, it does allow me just for today, during this drive, to get a better perspective on my life. You see, a light bulb has gone off today. When driving safely, living steps 1, 2, and 3, as I glance in my rear view mirror, every day what I see is changing. It's a brand new scenery. For me, it is okay to embrace my past. It is me. The disease of addiction is part of me. And what a gift and honor it is to have been given an opportunity to recover with like-minded individuals. Individuals who identify themselves as addicts and alcoholics. Individuals who are my family and are my real friends. Individuals that I love. I love everyone in the fellowships because I don't know, they've lived like me. I know their pain, especially the ones that keep coming back. I know them. However, this great love is just a minute part of how it works. For me, if I could draw you a picture of my disease, you know, how we see like maybe what a virus looks like under a microscope, right? If I could draw you a picture or show you my disease, it would probably look like the following. Okay, so picture a black hole with two beady eyes, consuming and eating everything, planets, stars, light, no matter what. This black hole is going to eat. That's my disease of addiction. My mother, my father, my sisters and brother, my uncles and cousins, friends and acquaintances. That all-consuming black hole is still there. And I know those that are listening today know someone, if not someone, a multitude of loved ones that they've lost as a direct result to drinking and drugging. I'm an addict no matter whether I'm recovering or relapsing. I'm an addict. In fact, this is for me, and this is for me only, this is my experience. I am an addict in step 1 all the time. Step 1 is we admitted we were powerless over our addiction, alcohol. My life had become unmanageable. See, I was always step 1. It did not matter if I was recovering or if I made the choice to go out and use again. If my life is unmanageable, let's say I'm using, right? If my life is unmanageable, how am I supposed to sincerely admit that I am powerless over the addiction and surrender to help and actually mean it? Especially because in active addiction, denial, shame, guilt, pride, self-righteousness, hopelessness, these things have distorted my vision, my true identity. So it's always step 1. Whether I'm recovering or I'm using, I just may be more mindful when I'm not using, able to turn it over a little bit easier, able to concede and surrender. There is hope. Building upon this hope, for me, required humility, humilitas. It required me to listen, but not just listen, then be of action. Like that's what I learned that listening is about today. I listen, and then I be of action. So in May of 2018, here I am again. I'm back going to 12-step meetings because there was nothing left between me and the drugs. There was nothing left between me and the jails, nothing left between me and the institutions, and nothing left between me and the overdoses. My entire family on my mother's side is gone. The entire family. And both sides, my father's side, both sides, entire generations are gone. and I'm holding on to my beautiful wife, and I don't want to lose her. And we didn't understand. We got together young. We knew I was an addict, and she knew my past. We did not know that it was a progressive disease. We did not know that recovery was the answer for me, and I didn't want to lose her. I'm holding on to these lost dreams of being a good husband, and will I get to be a father? I just sat here and listed all of my family members, and I've told you that I used with my family, right? Young, as a young boy, using drugs. That there was no way that I was going to be a father unless I found recovery. That's just how my higher power worked. It had to stop. And so here I am. I return. It's May of 2018 to 12-step fellowship meetings, and I'm yearning deep within to wake up and go to sleep clean. I hadn't done that. I want to know who I am, because what I have become is not working. And I want to live and experience life. That was my motive this time around. I wanted to live. I didn't want to die. And so the hope came when I started going to meetings. Of course, going to meetings, I was given suggestions. This is a first shout out to New York Yankee and 35 plus years recovery legend Ruben R. A suggestion is a subtle command. And so this initial hope comes when I started going to meetings and I was told or suggested, hey, look, you don't have to stop using. You don't have to quit getting high. I said, what? And they said, yeah. We suggest that you don't pick up. If you don't pick up, it doesn't get in you. But that is just a suggestion. Instead, why don't you keep coming back? I was never told to stop using. I was never told to stop getting high. That's the thing, is that I couldn't stop. I could not stop. Why are they going to say that? Everybody always told me, you got to stop. What's wrong with you? Just stop. I heard someone share the other day, being an addict is like, well, just stop using. And that it's like going up to a homeless man and looking him in the face and saying, hey, homeless man, go buy a home. Go on. Go home. Go buy a home, homeless man. Instead, why don't you keep coming back? Now, they suggested that I don't pick up. We suggest that you don't pick up. If you don't pick up, it doesn't get in you. But that is just a suggestion. Instead, why don't you keep coming back? And so I did. From May until the end of July, I started attending meetings, and I was still using. Humility. I was told to raise my hand at every meeting when they asked if there were any newcomers. I did. Humility. I was told to pick up a white key tag at every meeting until I had 30 days clean. I did. Humility. Now, the last time I picked up was at the end of July, so my clean date is August 2nd. This means I raised my hand as a newcomer and picked up a white key tag for almost 3 months before my clean date, and then 30 days after. I want you to know that I had been coming in and out of Tidewater area 12-step fellowships for 10 years before this. They knew who I was. But even my brain, aka my best thinking, would whisper, you've raised your hand and picked up a white key tag for the last 2 months. And they know who you are. I still was not clean. The suggestion or the subtle command that I was given was to raise my hand and introduce myself as a newcomer and get a white key tag until I had 30 days clean every time I was at a meeting. Humility. And so I did have enough white key tags to start our own meeting. And Tom B. and I did. I heard about 90 meetings in 90 days. I heard about getting and using a sponsor. Now, these 90 meetings in 90 days would be a hell of a lot easier if that sponsor or another willing member, or like the person who tells me 90 meetings in 90 days, it would be a hell of a lot easier if they went with me. Yes, it would be so much easier. So while I went to at least one meeting a day for the first 450 days, a little bit reluctant to use the following term to someone new. Look, make 90 meetings in 90 days. Unless I know I can attend every meeting with that newcomer, at least for the first few weeks. At least. My suggestion is this, especially if you don't ask me to be your sponsor. My suggestion, if you're new and you're still using, you need to do 2 of the following 3 actions every day. 1, don't pick up, don't use. 2, go to a meeting, get a phone number and use it. Or 3, pray on your knees when you awaken and before you go to sleep. Pick 2 of those. Do it every day. So if you do 2 of these 3 things every day, I truly believe you will come to find the hope. You need to get a sponsor, work the steps, and then the infinite recovery process begins. Service, meetings, literature, and it is infinite. This means if you use drugs today, well, you better go to a meeting, get a phone number, and use it. And if you use drugs today and you don't go to a meeting, then you better pray on your knees in the morning and before you go to sleep at night. In fact, you might want to pray that God gets you to a meeting. So I started working the steps from a 12-step working guide, which has probably killed newcomers. It's academic in the fact that there's over 100 pages. Step 1 is 69 questions. Step 2 is 66 questions. Like, I have a sponsee, and he couldn't even read the sections leading up to the questions. He could only muster the strength to go right to the question and read what he had written. It's a lot. It's a lot. However, there's no right or wrong way. The first thing that I had to do was take the suggestion and get a sponsor and work the steps. My sponsor now works with me on steps from the 12-step basic text. And we've also created reservation lists, a God resume. Recovery's infinite. The internet can afford those in recovery access to everything. Their original 12-step working sheets, you name it. Though it is best to take the suggestion of your sponsor. If you feel hopeless, then you need to find another sponsor. However, don't fire your sponsor. Once you have found another sponsor, you then need to give your current sponsor a 2-week notice. It doesn't have to be so personal, especially in the beginning. And so I did that. I worked the steps. I worked steps 1, 2, and 3 for the 10 years I had been coming in prior. They call this, I don't know, the 1, 2, 3 step jitterbug or something funny until the addict never returns. But I proceeded to do steps 1, 2, and 3. I then did them again. Within 9 months, I began what would become my first 4th step inventory. And this is a plethora of life experiences and misconceptions that added up to 120 pages front and back. Just sharing the inventory took about 12 hours, over a month. Inventory is ownership. It means we own it. And so I'm sharing my inventory. It's mine. I own it. I look at step 4 very similar to restaurant and working in the back of the house. If you go into the kitchen and you go into the walk-in, you have all your food, freezer, refrigerator, and everything should be dated and rotated. That's very similar to an inventory. I'm writing it down. I know what I have. I know what I own. I'm looking at it. I can discard what I want. It doesn't ever fully go away from me. It's always there. But so is God, and so is the program. And so I'm able to look at these things in a new scope, in a new perception. And, I had no idea that using drugs with my mother and father was abuse. I was clueless. Things I didn't know. It wasn't until I did the 5th step, shared my 4th step, that I really came to this understanding that there's 8 billion other people on the planet. I was clueless. I really didn't know. So it is here, this sharing of step 4, right? Step 5 with God and your sponsor. It is here that I begin to see the evidence of change. 1.5 years in, I look in the mirror and the bone structure in my face has changed. My wife said that my smell had changed. And that's because of God, because of this program, afforded me this opportunity to change everything. Mentally, physically, and spiritually, I had to change everything. My smell had changed. I did a 6 and a 7, which I'm back on 6 and 7 again. In fact, the more I keep coming back, I realize I will always be working the steps, as long as I do today what I did yesterday. In step 8, after 2 years in the program, I faced one of the harshest realities. I had caused myself harm. I had to put my name on the list. And that was it. I'm just writing a list. I'm looking and reflecting and being mindful. But man, that was so profound for me. I probably sobbed more on the step 8 list than I did sharing step 4 and 5. During step 9, I don't know. I was driving to Williamsburg to share with my sponsor, and I realized I was in a bubble. A conscious contact or something. Step 9 truly allowed me to accept that I am never alone. In fact, Chuck C., the late, great Chuck C., said, "Often I am by myself, but I am never alone." Step 10 was a commitment, and it is a commitment, working the steps. But step 10 was a commitment, as I was suggested, the subtle command, to write out the long list of the end of the day questions, living the program for 60 days. And it's here that I begin to notice that I am naturally working the steps in my life. Jimmy K said that we begin to naturally work the steps in every facet of our lives. Step 11, I brought my body to meditate for 30 days in a row. And I don't know, I still bite my tongue. I probably have neuroses. I believe meditation is life. I meditate just thinking about people that I love. I meditate when I'm driving. I've always been a prayer mechanic. Well, since I started this program. But, I pray, my prayer is formal. It's mine, just like my recovery. Every morning and night throughout the day I begin. And I've done this, I don't want to say religiously. It's not a religious program. But I've done this since August of 2018. At least twice a day. At least there's never been, I don't leave the house without getting on my knees. It's just, I'm superstitious. That's how I am. But it'll start from me like this. God, creator of life, the spirit of the universe, that which knows no bounds, beyond conditions, Adonai, Elohim, El Shaddai, Yad, He, Christ, Buddha, Allah, all the names, all the energy, the sun, nihilism, whatever. I'm powerless over the disease of addiction. I'm powerless over the disease of alcoholism. My life has become unmanageable. God, please help me. I'm surrendering myself to you. Thank you for allowing us to seek refuge in your mercy and your grace. Thank you for allowing us to seek refuge in the knowledge of your will for me and your will for us. Divorce my thinking from, here comes some step 6 defects. Divorce my thinking from dishonesty, anger, fear, self-pity, self-righteousness, envy. Instill within us this new way: humility, humbleness, acceptance, surrender, courage, perseverance, integrity, dignity, forgiveness. I've heard people say, you got to apply the steps. Well, look, I have to even learn what the words mean. I don't even know. That's why they say, I've been told a suggestion, look a word up if you don't know it. What's the definition? I never practiced spiritual principles till I came to this program. Take from me my will and my life. Guide me in my recovery. Show me how to live. Take my thoughts and my actions. Grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, like ourselves, and the wisdom to know the difference. Spirit, O Lord, may I be a channel. May we be channels of your light and love. So where there is hatred, we bring love. And where there is wrong, may we bring your spirit of forgiveness. Where there is error, may we bring your truth. Where there is despair, sorrow, and sadness, may we bring your hope, your faith, your joy, and your happiness. Where there lies darkness and shadows, may we shine your light and everlasting life. Creator, help us to care and comfort rather than needing to be cared and comforted. Help us to understand rather than needing to be understood. And help us to love rather than needing to be loved. For when one forgets oneself, one finds the forgiveness of self and the forgiveness of others. For it is in dying that one is truly alive and awakened to this new way of life. Our Father, hallowed be thy name, and thy kingdom come, and thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. We thank you for giving us this day our daily bread, and we thank you for forgiving us of our sins as we forgive those who sinned against us. And thank you for leading thus not into temptation and delivering us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory are yours now and forever. And I'm an American man on the East Coast, so my prayers take on a religious connotation. But step 11 gives us the freedom to seek. I pray for others. Just thinking about all the people is meditation for me. So many people that love me. I think of Freddie Bop, and Fred was there for me for my first 10 years that I came in and out. And so sometimes just having one person believe in you, one person being willing is what you need. I do today, like from my heart. I honestly strive and work to pray for others' happiness, for their health, and their prosperity. During the week that I was sharing my first 12 step, my son Judah was born, and that is evidence for me that this way of life works. You heard my story. I got to have a son. A year in to the program, I was fingerprinted. I got Pete tested for a job as a daycare teacher. 20 years before that, I was on a methadone program, taking pills, smoking crack, shooting up with my family, and now given a second chance to be around 100 plus infants and toddlers every day. I'm getting to pat their backs as they nap, meditate in a room full of a dozen babies snoring. The 12-step fellowship allowed me to write and defend a thesis. I got to go to college, which of course is about family members whose loved ones are suffering from alcoholism and addiction. And this podcast series, which, I've stalked all my friends and everyone I love to listen to it. Though my wife and I are 40, we get to welcome a second son in May. And this podcast series will take me up to Wilmington University's doctoral candidacy in 3 weeks. And in the spring of 2025, I will be honored with a doctorate. Now, degrees, social acceptability, all that prestige, money, that's nothing compared to the love, hope, and faith the 12-step fellowships have enabled me. If you're listening, please know that you are worthy, and we are worthy of a life beyond our wildest dreams. Nathan J., he's from New York, trusted servants in his home group, Esperanza. Esperanza is hope. Esperanza is hope. But hope takes work. It takes action. I had to bring the body so my mind would follow. Eventually, I would start to use it. But I came to meetings every day, and something gets stuck. Go back to the New York Yankee and 35-plus year recovery legend Ruben R., who tells me that I've hit the lottery, but if I can just put 51% towards recovery in the beginning, I can cash that lottery ticket in. So it's here. That is hope. In fact, it becomes more than just hope. Esperanza is step 2. And that's a spiritual principle, hope. Step 2. We came, we hope. We came to, we hope to. We came to believe, we hope to believe that a power greater than ourselves could. That's positive optimism about expectations moving forward in this life. My life, your life, our life could restore us to sanity. There is practicality in Esperanza. And if it isn't practical, it isn't spiritual. And so is Esperanza. This new way of life we practice seeks hope and positive optimism about the expectations of life moving forward. And for this Esperanza, we came to, we hope, and we make the decision to trust, persevere, and remain steadfast and committed, even in the face of fear, living life on life's terms, even when driving down the road and it starts raining and hailing and you can see a storm coming. We have courage. Esperanza is courage. We have courage on this journey. We continue to hope even when all seems bleak. We continue to pray even when no one appears to be listening. We continue to say thank you always and in all things, doing what we know to be good for us. I want to thank you all today for allowing me to share. If you're new, please go to a meeting. I know I will, just for today. I love you all. Namaste, but a namago. My next episode will be with Chris B. I love him. He's got a deep voice. We're going to talk about his journey of recovery. We're going to talk about, he's a spectacular musician, and we're going to talk about experience as a peer recovery specialist. Again, thank you for staying, but namago. Think I'm just happy. Think I'm just happy. I think I'm down. 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 I think I'm down.